Let's get a little cold start going here. Which hasn't been fired up in a while. Got it back into the garage. So the new 2022 Subaru BRZ was just released, just announced. Not yet in production until the fall of 2021, but we have all the details available. Give you a quick intro. We have bumped up the horsepower to 228 and the torque is at 184 pound-feet of torque. Didn't get that turbo that everyone was hoping for, but the naturally aspirated will kind of maintain the heritage of the car as is, and there's still gonna be tons of aftermarket support for the vehicle, I'm sure. Subaru is saying that this is now the lightest 2x2, which is the 2+2, the 2 front seats, 2 rear seats, to be precise. It is the lightest production sports car with that configuration on the market today in the US. And this is all due in part to the aluminum roof, front fenders, and then the hood. So all that combined with everything else on the car puts it just under 2,900 pounds, which is kind of approaching Miata territory there. Not quite as light, but definitely an improvement. Overall though, you've got more power, better handling characteristics, improved styling all around, and then the interior has some nice modern upgrades to it as well. They're saying that the overall length of the car has increased by 1 inch, and it also sits 1 inch lower to the ground. So getting on to the engine, everybody's favorite part. We kind of went through this a little bit, but 228 horsepower. It's about a 15% increase over the previous gens, which had starting off 200 horsepower or 205 in the more recent variations. And again, slight bump in torque as well, 184 pound-feet of torque, and that is up from about 156 in the previous gen. So nothing astronomical there, but it is nice to see a slight bump. Obviously, given the new layout, design, everything is pretty much changed on this car. Moving on to the exterior. The front end, if you look at it, to me, it kind of reminds me of a mixture between Porsche Cayman or... Dude almost ran right into the front of my car. Front end looks like a Cayman. I think it also looks like a Jaguar F-Type. It's kind of a mixture between the two. Either way, it's got that aggressive front grille and lip. The styling on the front, I think, personally, looks very good. Moving to the rear of the car, however, not a bad thing necessarily, but, and it's gonna sound kind of funny, but I think it just reminds me of a Buick. Not necessarily any specific model or trim, but if you look at the back of that, immediately, you gotta admit those headlights, just the shape of it, it looks like a modern day Buick to me, which the new Buicks don't look bad. The rear diffuser and the dual exhaust on the back of the car, overall it looks very sharp, very nice. Coming back to the front though, there is actually functional front air intakes, and then on the side of the car, there are those side air ducts that are also functional. And then moving right along to the back end of the car, we have some wide fender flares that look really nice, going right into the trunk where there's a built-in duckbill spoiler. Looks pretty sharp. I do like it. I was surprised at how much I actually like the exterior of this car. The wheels, you can have 17 or 18-inch stock wheels. I'm sure a lot of people in the aftermarket community, they'd be upgrading those anyway, but with the different trim levels that it comes in premium or limited, you can have those different sized wheels respectively. And then to top it off, pun intended, we've got the roof. So the roof design, they're calling it a double bubble. I guess the double bubble is the 2 bubbles on either side of the roof. But it actually kind of complements the lines of the car coming up from the hood all the way to the roof. It's kind of just this deep valley that goes all the way across. Looks pretty good. Moving into the interior. So on the inside of the car, Subaru has tried to make it very driver centric or very driver focused. So what you're gonna have, instead of the standard cluster like you see on most cars, they have integrated a 7-inch digital speedometer. And then the tachometer is actually programmable, or you can customize it in a way to see amps, water temperature. There's a G meter in there, probably a couple other features that weren't mentioned. But overall, the gauge cluster has been upgraded significantly to look very clean. And then there is track mode. So if you put the car in track mode, it automatically changes the tachometer so that there's a linear color-coded graph on the display. So that looks pretty sharp as well. It gives you kind of like an easy readout. If you're in track mode, you just want to have the one variable up there on the dash. Some of the other stuff though, 8-inch infotainment system is standard with Subaru Starlink, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, Bluetooth, backup camera, all the modern day stuff you're gonna have in a vehicle. There's also Subaru Eyesight available in just the automatic version. So if you don't know what Eyesight is, there's plenty of videos out there. It's basically just the auto braking, lane detection, all that good stuff. The seats are front bucket seats. The bolstering looks very nice. It's got the red stitching, kind of like I've got here, with nice side bolstering, Alcantara suede. It's a little bit different than the design of these STI seats because the leather or the pleather is not specifically right on the side where you're sitting. It's more on the actual side of the seat. So the entire center is the Alcantara, which I think looks really good. I like the Alcantara as well because you don't slide around as much. And then just in general, all of the touch points, again, looking at the pictures, the steering wheel, the buttons, the knobs, everything looks of very high quality. And they say with the way that they've designed the A-pillars and the angle of the windshield, seating position, all of that allows for pretty good visibility. What's a very nice option is the foldable rear seats. So you have a lot of cargo space back there with the rear seats folded down for a sports car. Throw whatever you need back there, your bike, your canoe. No, not gonna go all that, but any of the stuff that you guys need to be hauling around within reason in a BRZ, it can get the job done. Overall, they've tried to maintain the practicality of the car while still maintaining the sports car feel. Getting into the transmission side of things, what do we have? We have the automatic 6-speed, which is going to actually include something very cool. It's got auto rev matching, so you'll get a little throttle blip on your downshifts. That's pretty cool, not seen in Subarus prior to this, at least I don't believe. And then it also comes in a 6-speed manual for the true car enthusiast. Just kidding, I know a lot of people get really hung up on that. Either way, you are gonna get a limited slip differential. Everybody likes a little LSD. Lastly here, getting into the chassis. So as I said before, they've lowered the car by 1 inch, giving it a lower center of gravity. We've also got a wider wheelbase now, so they say, quote, near perfect weight distribution. It's no Miata, but I'm sure it's pretty close. I'm a little bit biased, obviously. You guys have seen the other videos. My 20-year-old Miata will not handle as well as this car, but I might like to think that it does. And then you guys have probably heard of the Subaru Global Platform. So using different elements from that Subaru Global Platform, they have increased the rigidity overall or strength of the chassis. So it's allowed for better weight distribution in turning and ripping it around. Just the handling feel of the car, a lot more stable. As far as the suspension components, the front of the car has a custom built McPherson type strut. And then the rear is gonna be using double wishbone suspension to help with absorption of bumps and whatnot, give it some better grip. So you guys know in a rear wheel drive car, kind of like that go-kart feel where if you're really ripping a corner, you can hit a bump and bounce. That rear wishbone suspension is supposed to help with that. So for track driving, the vehicle stability control, or VSC, comes into play. Subaru is saying there are 5 different modes to this VSC. Don't give a lot of information on exactly what those modes are, but I guess that is data to come. But I'm sure the BRZ is more racy, track oriented to that regard. So we'll find out more about the 5 settings here in the future, I'm sure. It seems like a very well-rounded car and a nice upgrade from the previous gen. I know a lot of people are gonna get hung up on the power side of things because that's what everybody always focuses on, but there's a lot more to the car than just all-out power. This WRX is way faster than that BRZ or my Miata, but I love driving my Miata. My Miata is more fun than this car. That BRZ is gonna be more fun than this car. Even though it's not as fast, it doesn't have to be fast to enjoy the car and enjoy the driving experience, which I think people that really know what they like in a car understand that, but the people that are just focused on power are gonna kind of, you know, snub their nose at this. But at the end of the day, the people that really want the car are the ones that are gonna get the car, and they're gonna have a blast when they do. So I would love to test drive one. Probably not gonna be for a while. It says it's not gonna be released till fall 2021. So we got a long wait, almost a year from now. I didn't really look at the tire specs, but in the previous gens, the tires have always been known as the quote unquote Prius tires. So you got those thin tires where you can really rip the car around corners, kick the ass end out, have an absolute blast, but at the same time, it's got good grip if you know how to drive it properly. So if you want to have fun, get a little squirrely, you can. If you want to play it safe, you can do that as well. Overall, great car. Let me know you guys' thoughts in the comments. What do you think of the new 2020 BRZ? Anything I left out, give me, blow me up for it, roast me. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this one. Talk to you. See you in the next one.